Kalisto, one of Xena's fiercest and most persistent villains, was turned into a villain by Xena herself. However, in her later life, Kalisto became the epitome and embodiment of all things vile and cruel, so much so that she even killed her parents, Hercules' mother, as well as his wife. In this video, we'll track Kalisto's origins before diving into her story from the comics. So, without further ado, let's begin, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. I Shall Never Cry. Fans of Hercules and Xena know that the warrior princess was not always good at heart. Once, she was known as Evil Xena, a warlord so fierce that even the strongest feared her wrath. Wherever Evil Xena went, she brought death and destruction with her. People would be ready to pay for their existence in blood and bones. One day, Evil Xena reached the city called Syra, the home to Callisto. The arrival of Xena alerted a young Callisto. She runs to her parents, trying to warn them about the impending doom, but her parents discard the young girl's appeals. Soon enough, Xena orders her followers to draw out the women and children before burning the village to the ground. However, Darphus burns Syra anyway. Every living thing in Syra was engulfed in flames, devoured by it. Only Callisto survived. It is unknown how she was saved when the attack happened, but in the episode titled Armageddon Now, Part 2, Callisto travels back in time to find the massacre. She accidentally kills her father and leaves a young Callisto for dead in the burning barn, hoping that if young Callisto died, the adult Callisto would cease to exist. This time, though, Iolaus of Thebes, Hercules' best friend, saved her, but this could not have been possible in the past. Nevertheless, Iolaus gives Callisto into the care of her uncle, who thinks that the girl should cry and unburden some of her grief, but the girl promises never to cry again. You see, her young heart is now filled with rage and vengeance. She wanted to make Xena pay the price for her misdeeds. When a child is shaped with such strong emotions, they often turn into a force that no one can withstand. Just ask Bruce Wayne, or maybe Callisto. Kalisto vs. Xena, Round 1. The first two episodes in which Kalisto appeared proved that the damage that Xena had caused in her evil past could never be set right or justified. She destroyed many lives, including Callisto's, whose heart was filled by hatred and revenge. Now, this also posed a significant dilemma for Xena. Callisto was like a fishbone stuck in her throat, which she could never swallow or spit. If Xena allowed Callisto to live, the woman would continue to wreak havoc, kill, plunder, and pillage. If she killed Callisto, Xena would only go on to prove that her past still haunted her and could never be redeemed or forgotten. The first episode in which Callisto appears depicts her as an evil mastermind. She had begun by recruiting an army of loyal followers with whom she could train relentlessly to become as good as Xena. This is followed by a brutal campaign of revenge in which Callisto attacks before burning them and slaughtering all the residents. But why is Callisto trading the same fate to innocence as she once suffered? All her raiding and slaughtering were being done in the name of Xena, whose reputation Callisto wanted to bring down. So it's safe to say that Callisto wanted to hurt Xena not just physically, but also psychologically and in the eyes of the people. Before she killed Xena, she wanted to ensure that people remembered the warrior princess as a villain. This left Xena with relatively little choice. She was forced to engage Callisto in a duel. However, Xena could not bring herself to kill Callisto, someone whose fate and current status as a killer was her own doing. The warrior princess gives Callisto over to the authorities, who put her behind bars. Needless to say, it does not take a lot of time for Callisto to escape. Despite being without any weapons, she manages to cripple a few of the guards and kill others. Of course, once again, she begins her hunt for Xena. She succeeds in finding Xena but fails to eliminate her. So, like any self self-respecting, vengeful warlord, Callisto plunges her sword into the heart of the newlywed Perdiccas, the husband of Gabrielle, Xena's friend. This time around, Callisto speaks about her childhood and how Xena destroyed that childhood and left her wounds that would never fully heal. Xena gets filled with remorse and repents what she had done. The two women resume their fight and fall into quicksand. Although Xena saves herself using her wit, she watches Callisto get pulled under. But Xena is confused about saving Callisto. Should she kill the monster she created, or should she save the monster and allow the carnage to continue? While Xena grapples with this dilemma, Ares and Callisto collaborate together to ensure that Xena and Callisto's bodies get switched. In the end, it was Xena who got trapped in Tartarus. However, Xena pleads with Hades and gets a ticket back to Earth. However, she was still in Callisto's body, and Callisto was still in Xena's. Ultimately, she manages to defeat Callisto and send her back to Tartarus. And as far as their body exchange is concerned, Ares undid it after an episode. Callisto becomes immortal, but Callisto is like the wind. You cannot hold her in one place for too long unless you are an X-Man or something like Storm. Anyway, she made a deal with Hera, the queen of all gods, who allowed her to come back to Earth for a single day. You see, Hera had made a deal with Callisto, the death of Hercules, in exchange for her immortality. Of course, Callisto took that bargain, but she had other plans. She wanted to get immortality and become a god, no matter what. She begins by poisoning Hercules' family and then plays him into following her to the Tree of Life. The golden apples that this tree produced had super magical properties. If you took a bite from one of these apples, all your ailments would be cured, and if you had the entire apple, well, you become immortal. Hercules reluctantly agreed with Callisto, but the woman ended up trapping him before using him to reveal the location of the tree. She eats the said golden apple before him and becomes immortal. Interestingly, this also brings back her sanity. However, the mighty Hercules escapes from her clutches and engages her in battle. The result was that she lost her sanity once again. Hercules proceeds to trap her in the labyrinth, hoping to never see her again. Here, she had only her rage and anger to accompany her, which only meant that she would further spiral down. And to make it all the worse, she was an immortal now, so there was no telling for how long she was gonna be in this sorry state.
Oh, no you don't.
Callisto becomes a goddess. Eventually, an Amazon named Velasca became a god by consuming ambrosia, a substance consumed by God and also called the nectar or fruit of gods. You see, ambrosia could revive any dead mortal and could turn a healthy mortal into a god. Velasca was hell-bent to kill Xena's friend Gabrielle, and Xena had to do something about it. So, she contacted Callisto and offered her a chance to consume ambrosia in exchange for her help in defeating Velasca. Of course, Callisto agrees. Callisto and Velasca fight on a rope bridge, which is where she gets to taste the ambrosia, becoming divine. Xena cuts the rope and the other two fall into the lava underneath. However, later in the show, Callisto is freed by Gabrielle's evil daughter, Hope, who Dahak had fathered. If you looked at Hope, you could feel anything but hopeful. Despair and all things evil reeked from her. Hope and Callisto joined hands. Their first mission was the murder of centaurs and Amazons, in the hopes of creating enmity between the two species. Next, the two of them killed Solon, the son of Xena and Boreas. This was the final nail in the coffin of an age-old rivalry between Xena and Callisto. For a moment, Callisto felt elated after Solon's death. She found happiness in the torment of her sworn enemy, but this feeling soon receded, and she was filled with this cold emptiness, as cold as Solon's corpse. Xena confronts Callisto and traps her in a mine, but does not kill her. It seems that although all shreds of humanity had left Callisto, but Xena was still humane. Although Callisto's pain killed her, Xena, on the other hand, was willing to live with her own pain. Once again, Callisto is freed by Hope. Hope wanted Hercules dead and thought Callisto would be the one to perform the deed, but she feared that other gods may interrupt Callisto's mission, so Hope gives her Hind's blood so that gods could be kept at bay. You see, Hind's was a half human and half deer, peace-loving creature whose blood could kill gods. gods. Callisto fails to kill Hercules, obviously, but does manage to kill the god named Strife, who was supposedly Ares' nephew and his henchman. This brought animosity between Callisto and Ares, who wanted to avenge Strife. Callisto then traveled back in time so that she could kill Alcmene, Hercules' mother, before Hercules could be born. Ares knew about this plan and sent Aeolus back in time to stop Callisto, and although he managed to get his hands on Hind's blood, Callisto succeeded in killing Alcmene. She then returned to her past trying to save her family, but ended up killing her father. This prompted her mother to charge at her, and already filled with strong emotions of rage, regret, and sadness, she killed her mother as well and left a younger version of herself to burn and die. Interestingly, Aeolus also used the Cronus Stone to save Hercules' mother by going back in time. He returned only to find that Callisto was waiting for him. She prepared to kill him, but Hercules came to his friend's rescue and saved him by throwing Callisto into an interdimensional portal. First death. As fate would have it, it does not take Callisto long to break free from the other world that Hercules had sent her. However, by now, she was tired of her life's pain. To transform from child to adult, Hope wraps herself in a cocoon, and Callisto promises to guard her for a chance at eternal rest. Meanwhile, Xena and Gabrielle stop a cult from sacrificing Gabrielle's friend, Seraphim. Now, Xena believed that this sacrifice for the return of a particular goddess was being done for Callisto, but it's actually for Hope, who, as I mentioned, was Gabrielle's daughter. Xena and Gabrielle learn this after talking to Seraphim. They track down Hope. Xena fights Callisto and pins her down. As Xena is about to attack Hope, Ares intervenes to whisk Hope away. Xena figures Ares hid Hope in the halls of war, a place too tough for her and Gabrielle alone. Luckily, they find an ally in Callisto, who is angry at Hope for wanting her alive for Dahak's army and her team up with Ares. Callisto agrees to help if Xena kills her, but Xena wishes her eternal life instead. En route, Xena and Joxer fake a fight for Callisto's benefit. Xena secretly sends Joxer to get captured by Dahak's followers with the location of the Hind's blood dagger, planning to infiltrate the halls of war. Their plan works. However, as Xena tries to take down Hope, Gabrielle intervenes and takes Hope and herself into a lava pit, seemingly ending both their lives. This leaves Xena stunned. Callisto, happy about Gabrielle's fall, finds a new will to live and thanks Xena. Before Callisto can react, Xena fulfills her death wish with the Hind's blood dagger, ending her enemy's life for good. Tryst with Caesar. Callisto loses her goddess powers and becomes a demon, but of course, that's far from her final fate. You see, she was given a choice. She can return to life if she messes with Xena's fate and helps Caesar become emperor of Rome, but there's a catch. She can't hurt Xena directly and tries to make deals with her. Callisto tells Xena that if she doesn't stop Caesar's rise, Xena and Gabrielle won't die as foreseen, but Xena must give up fighting and choose peace. Xena sees through Callisto's plan and goes to save Gabrielle and Eli. She almost does, but Callisto, furious and failing, uses Xena's chakram to break Xena's spine. She had hurt Xena physically, which was not allowed, and went back to hell. However, Callisto's failure eventually leads to Caesar's, Xena's, and Gabrielle's death. Xena severely hurt, and Gabrielle got caught by the Roman guards. On the Ides of March, as Caesar becomes emperor, he's killed by the Senate and Brutus. On the other hand, Xena and Gabrielle are crucified. The Gift of Eve. After dying, Callisto becomes a demon and faces Xena, who, in turn, has turned into an angel. She drags Gabrielle to hell and tempts her with food to turn her evil. Xena becomes an archangel to save Gabrielle. They fight, and Xena overpowers Callisto. Despite Callisto's hatred, Xena feels guilty for Callisto's pain and cleanses her soul before sending her to heaven as an angel. As for Gabrielle, she is rescued by Archangel Michael. Callisto finds peace in heaven, free from her past agony. Xena, in exchange, becomes a demon and sacrifices herself for Callisto's salvation. In heaven, Callisto shines with light and goodness. Gabrielle, shocked, struggles to forgive her. At first, Callisto's dark past is erased, leaving only a kind and gentle soul, a stark contrast to her former self. Naturally, Gabrielle sees the change and forgives her. Callisto reunites with her parents in heaven, and it is now that she finally tastes the sweet nectar of peace. Gabrielle Gabrielle becomes an archangel and joins the defense of heaven against an attack led by Xena. While Gabrielle fights Xena, Callisto, now a guardian angel, helps Eli resurrect Xena and Gabrielle. In the episode called Seeds of Faith, Xena finds herself unexpectedly pregnant and is asked by Callisto to stay out of Eli's fight against the gods. After Ares kills Eli, Xena ignores Callisto's request to spare Ares. Xena understands Eli's true mission only when threatened. Xena's pregnancy is revealed to be no accident. Having made amends in heaven, Callisto chooses Xena to be her mother and start anew. This gift, Eve, is Callisto's way of making up for Solon's death and restoring the family Xena once lost. Callisto versus Xena in comics. During one of their regular adventure-filled journeys, Xena and Gabrielle were passing through a jungle when Xena heard the cries of a woman. She was about to be killed by Thanatos, the personal emissary to Hades, the lord of the underworld. Hades had sent him to retrieve this girl, who was supposed to be dead, but Xena could not just let Thanatos kill a seemingly innocent girl. Hades could have been the ruler of the underworld and all that, but Xena did not care. Since her move from the good side to the evil side, she had become a protector of the innocents. She fought Thanatos with all her might and sent him back to where he came from. But who was this girl? I mean, Hades himself asked Thanatos to bring her to the underworld, so she must have been someone important. Well, yes, she was Cassandra, daughter of the late King Priam of Troy. You see, when she was on the threshold of womanhood, the god Apollo desired her. To impress her, he gave her the ability to see the future, but when she still rejected him, he put a curse on her. No one would believe any of her prophecies and foretellings. Her fellow Trojans did not believe her when she said Helen would cause her city's downfall. No one believed her when she told them there were Greek soldiers inside that infamous wooden horse over there. When Troy was destroyed, King Agamemnon took her back to Mycenae to be a slave. Even he did not believe her when she told him about his wife's lover, at least not until the moment he was murdered. They would have killed her too, but because she could see the future, she escaped just in time. And since then, Hades felt that Cassandra cheated death, so now he wanted her dead and in the underworld. Gabrielle jokingly asked her to predict if she and Xena would reach her destination on time, and Cassandra had a vision of the future in which Callisto killed Xena. But where were Gabrielle and Xena headed anyway? Let me give you a bit of a background. So, not long ago, a prophetess predicted that a newly orphaned boy would grow up to take the throne of King Gregor. A slave girl sent the baby adrift to save his life, and Xena and Gabrielle found him. They also met Pandora, the granddaughter of the original Pandora. You know, the one with the box. Anyway, somehow, Xena convinced King Gregor to accept the boy as his heir apparent. Interestingly, Pandora and Gregor decided to raise the baby together, and as fate would have it, the two of them fell in love and decided to get married. It was the wedding ceremony of King Gregor and Pandora that Xena and Gabby were heading to. Of course, Cassandra joined the warrior women in their journey. However, there was another player in town. Yes, Kalisto. It's revealed that during the events of the comic, Kalisto was an immortal and was, as well, a goddess because she had consumed ambrosia. As the couple gets married, Kalisto makes a pit stop at the place where the slain body of Hydra remains, the same monster that Hercules had put to rest. Being a goddess, she put her soul into the Hydra. The Hydra's dead soul went into her human body, but that was a sacrifice she was willing to make, at least for now. You see, she could have easily killed Xena with her powers, but she went to do all the shenanigans because she wanted to play with Xena a little. Anyway, during the wedding, the Callisto Hydra attacks. Xena cuts off one of the heads, but as you may already know, cut off one head and two more shall take its place. Additionally, Xena knew that Callisto had taken over Hydra's body. Fortunately for the warrior princess, she remembered the only way Hydra could be killed. Hercules had told her that the central head could be cut off and immediately cauterized with fire to stop the heads from growing. Xena asked King Gregor to send their guards to do the deed while she distracts the monster. However, King Gregor was an honorable man and decided to do the deed himself. But wait, one hot plot twist coming right up. Being the evil woman that Callisto was, she put Xena's soul into the Hydra, the Hydra's soul into Xena, and her soul into her own human body. So, this meant that Xena could die while in Hydra's body. Xena was failing to control the creature's massive body while the Hydra turned Xena into a feral beast in a berserker rage. Fortunately though, Gabrielle figured out what was happening. However, King Gregor jumped onto Hydra's neck, preparing to slay the creature, oblivious to the fact that this was his dear friend Xena. And that's where the first issue ends. Trial by Torment. In the next issue, King Gregor stood atop the Hydra's head, but if he had killed the beast, he would have killed Xena. Our friend Gabrielle rushed to Gregor, asking him to stop dealing the final blow, but he could not understand what she was saying. He was too focused on ending the menace of this flailing Hydra. Seeing no other option at hand, Gabrielle tackled the king down and explained what was happening. It took the king some time, but he understood the situation at hand. But Xena, whose body was taken over by Hydra's soul, was still on a rampage, attacking anything that moved. She tried to come after the good guys, but Cassandra managed to knock her down with a big rock. They were not going to attack Xena's human body, and not even Hydra's body. Noticing this, Callisto again switched the souls. This time, she returned Xena's soul to her human body and took over the Hydra's body for a while before ending this whole body-switching shenanigan. After playing the puppeteer for so long, Callisto thought it was time to come center stage and ensure everyone knew whom the credit with the ruckus. And to be honest, there was no point in conquering the world if no one knew who did it. Seeing that there was little they could do against Callisto, King Gregor asked Pandora to flee with the young prince, but she refused to leave his side, even for the baby's sake. However, Callisto ensured that no one had to leave anyone else. She captured Gregor, Pandora, the baby, and Xena before ordering the Hydra to take them to the castle. You see, she had begun her goal of world domination, and her first step was taking over King Gregor's kingdom. With the king and the heir in the monster's grasp, treachery and rebellion started to surface. The soldiers began choosing sides. The captives were thrown in prison. The king blamed Xena for their fate. He was like, if she hadn't come, Callisto wouldn't have followed her to put everyone in trouble. This was the same dude who was delaying his wedding because Xena hadn't arrived yet. I mean, the man has zero conscience. Just about then, Callisto arrived. She reminded Xena of her past and made her see the things she did as evil Xena. However, Callisto did not stop there. She cursed Xena to live these memories on a loop. That's all Xena could see. But until when was she going to remain in her hell? Well, the warrior goddess had ordered emissaries from neighboring city-states to come and witness her power. Once they went to the city, Callisto planned to slay Xena before them in a show of power and authority. Pandora implored Xena to snap out of it, but that did nothing good. The woman was being tormented by her dark past, and there was nothing she could do to stop herself. Anyway, it wasn't long before the other two women, Cassandra and Gabrielle, arrived. Together, they managed to take down the guards, and Gabrielle helped Xena snap out of Callisto's torture. They could not find the keys to the cell because Callisto had them with her. It was decided that to take on someone divine like Callisto, they needed someone divine. All hands pointed towards Thanatos, who must have still been after Cassandra. You see, it was kind of like the scene from Jurassic World where they bring the T-Rex to fight the Indominus Rex. Anyway, by now, the emissaries have arrived in town. Callisto brought forth the royal family, captured and caged. Seeing them, a sense of panic gripped the entire crowd. Next, she also brought Xena into the arena, like she was some gladiator ready to fight her final battle. Initially, Xena dodged Callisto's attacks to save herself, but Xena realized that by doing so, she was giving Callisto precisely what she wanted, the pleasure of seeing Xena run for her life, afraid and helpless. So the warrior princess stopped and decided to face the warrior goddess head on. She tells Callisto, "You better kill me now and make an end of it, because I am coming for you, and if I get my hands on you, not even your godhood will save you." It may sound like quite an over-the-top threat, but it was coming from Xena, and she did not make claims she could not keep. But hey, there's the prophecy that Cassandra made in the first issue about Callisto sticking her sword through Xena's heart. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. A fight to the finish. The girls, Cassandra and Gabrielle, they ran and ran, trying to reach the chasm from where Thanatos had come to take Cassandra along. Interestingly, they brought along Pandoras Box, which was now empty. Meanwhile, Xena was still fighting Callisto, trying to dodge her attacks, buying herself time. Somehow, Cassandra and Gabrielle reached their destination and found Thanatos waiting for Cassandra. However, Gabby trapped him in Pandora's Box, which meant that death itself had been trapped and no one could die in the world. This meant that Hades was gonna go out of business because he was in the company of death. This gave the warrior princess a window big enough to strike back at the warrior goddess. Meanwhile, Hades summoned Thanatos from the box and asked him to let Cassandra be, for he was disappointed in him. By now, the two women had returned with Pandora's Box. The box, which had belonged to generations of Pandoras, was made made by Zeus to hold the plagues that later beset mankind. When the god's power met Callisto's godlike power, something occurred that people in a later era called a short circuit. Only a few times in the history of the cosmos has such a violent detonation been witnessed, and then only by the gods, when at the beginning of all things, chaos forced apart the earth and sky with a soul-shuddering wrench, when great Zeus used Cyclops, forged thunderbolts to smash the rebellious titans and giants, when the assembled Olympians fought for their very lives against the monster called Typhon, and now when Callisto is rent asunder like a leaf in a hurricane by the explosion of Pandora's Box. Just like that, Callisto was pulled inside the box. In the aftermath, Cassandra, being a princess, started living with Pandora and Gregor, while Gabby and Xena left for another adventure. So that was the story of Callisto, the greatest and most persistent of Xena's villains. What do you think about her? Do you have someone else in mind who you believe can rival Callisto? And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.